believe that every enterprise will need at least one AI co-worker in the next 2 to 3 years, right? Is going to hire. Definitely, they're going to hire AI co-workers. That's not whether we are able to reach that size of a market or not. That is definite. Now, if you ask which industries are trending and where there is more adoption, we find that there is a lot of adoption in HR and finance. In fact, we find CFOs today as a big champion of digital transformation, and they are making the CIOs of yesterday think that, making them realize that they were not doing digital transformation, they were doing digital enhancements, of course, but from a transformation, because transformation by definition is the previous should not be recognizable in the new, right? So that only then you say it's transformed. Otherwise, it's enhanced, it's improved, and all of that, right? So, but for transformation, you needed AI. And today we find that the CFOs are actually, because they know that the bottom line and top line is going to be hugely impacted by AI. And if they don't do it, they'll be left out. So they are actually pushing for digital transformation like never before within organizations. So they're also buying AI co-workers within their domain, and they're also encouraging different departments and in fact, the CIO also, they're pushing to try and get them to transform different aspects of the business. An AI, what you build on an E42 platform is called an AI co-worker, right? So what the co-worker does is it automates the entire process end to end. Everything is an AI agent, which basically they work sometimes in sync, in tandem, or sometimes in sequence, and they are able to process the whole thing end to end. So just to give you another example where you can have this entire foundation or this entire LLM containerized and sitting out of your GPU if you're an enterprise, right? So what this means is multiple things. One is it's secure. It's a model that it's not going to hallucinate because it's going to only take the entities that are connected to your organization. All of that is there. But also from a sustainability point of view, which is going to be a big query question in the future. Like, you don't want to wake up a giant to find out, to process an invoice. Yeah, when you're waking up an LLM, it's causing a lot of heat, and a lot of teraflops of computing is happening, right? Which is actually very expensive from a sustainability point of view. So I think that's where the E42 platform comes in. So where it says that you have a smaller model that is in your control, very highly secure. We made all security standards from the ISO 27001 to all the compliances like ITAR, GDPR, and all of those things, right? So basically what we're saying is, and we also SOC 2 compliant, and we do that every 6 months. So what we're saying is security and the prevention of hallucination is two of the major concerns that enterprises have. And today, although the large cloud providers do provide that on their cognitive service platform, your data is safe. But I think the next big question is your intelligence safe, right? So if I was to give you an example, once you learn something, once you know something, you don't have to remember where you learned it from. Let's say you look at a cup of tea, and when you were a kid, you must have held that tea in your hand, and then you know that the cup of tea, when you see a cup of tea, it's very likely that it's really hot, right? Now, the data is somebody touched a cup of tea and it was hot, or you touched it earlier on and you realize that. But once the learning is there, it doesn't matter on that, right? You know now the cup of tea is hot, right? Or to give you an enterprise kind of an example, even though Amazon doesn't know what you are likely to order, it is intelligent enough to know how many people in your building or in your locality will order the new iPhone when it's launched, right? So that even if you flush out all the data from Amazon and the Mac, this prediction or this ability is generative now. It doesn't need the history of the data. So I think that's another thing that's going to be the future. So there again, a platform like E42 is very unique in the sense that it lets you protect your intelligence. It's a smaller language model, so it will give you, from an enterprise point of view, the best experience for all stakeholders. The cost to not only from a dollar point of view, but also from a sustainability point of view, it's much, much cheaper. And another thing about LLMs is the LLM might hallucinate, might give the right answer, might give the wrong answer. Most of the time it will give the right answer, definitely. Whether it gives the right, wrong answer or it hallucinates, it definitely learns with every interaction. So That is something that we should never forget. Individual point of view, if you remove the personally identifiable information, then you still secure, right? But AI is learned. But from an enterprise point of view, we don't. I think that's a risk. I'm not so sure enterprises are willing to take, and they shouldn't be taking. If they are, they're risking too much. For example, we work with one of the largest automobile manufacturers in the world. They had a problem where they had employees all over the world, in about 18 countries. And they just came to us with the problem that how do we make this experience of joining us uniform and at the same time very personal or customized with local nuances, whenever a person joins and at different slabs, within the organization. So how can we personalize at the same time, you know, you could say standardize, the experience when a new employee comes. They have, I think, around 300,000 employees worldwide. So how can that experience be seamless? So that was a question that they initially put to us. We solved for that, and today they call it Genie. And today the Genie at their enterprise basically solves, helps employees with everything from letting them know if there's a visitor, their leave applications, the status of production, how that compares with last month or last year at the same time, any kind of this. So each employee, has a Genie that can help them with any query that they have with the enterprise. If they're looking for a doctor, if they're looking to book an appointment for their child at the creche, all of this is through a single point on Teams. When that went live on Teams, it became one of Teams' largest use cases worldwide. So yes. So I think so there is definitely, so when you start, so now this company is able to keep the employee, at the center and build all the services and offerings around that, and it's available to something that the employees are used to and always on its Teams, right? So they don't have to connect to anything, log in anywhere else, or access anything else. So in that same interface, from the enterprise side, there's just one face. So for example, if I'm the accounts manager or the account payable manager, it will tell me the report of how many invoices came in on Genie itself, how many were processed touchless, how many somebody is right now looking at, and how many, what's the total amount, or any of those things you can just chat with that. So it's a one point platform where the enterprise and the employee very personalized, and at the same time very standardized, 100% compliant transactions between the enterprise and these employees. For that, we won like the SAP ACE Award along with that company. So I think it was pretty exciting journey. And then there are across, there is one with one of the largest telecommunications companies in the world, where they were about to write a check to IBM for a product that IBM had way back called Explorer. And we went in there and we, along with on our platform, they built something called Ask Me, which is Ask the Marketing Insights team. And they would be able to generate or retrieve and then generate reports on any of the prospects or any company that would buy their infrastructure, and they could do that on the platform itself. So yes, so we've had amazing success stories with different kind of use cases in different verticals, and that's, I think, the most exciting part of E42. So initially, the advice that we used to get was go inch wide, mile deep, and go very focused into one domain, one vertical if you're doing enterprise, SaaS or whatever, right? The problem is that we would look at all the large enterprise software companies to also, which should be or which were all then almost doing SaaS. They were always horizontal, right? So if you take SAP, if you take Oracle, if you take Microsoft, of course. So the thing was AI, we knew that, the data in a particular vertical or anything wouldn't be a moat, which was what, the investors and the community thought at the time. But we knew that wouldn't be any moat. With more data, the AI would get smarter. So it was not with very less focused data in one field or in one area that the data would get smart. So given our knowledge and our understanding at the time, we were, we didn't we said no to a lot of money that came on early on. But then we started running out, right? So, and that's when we realized that we have to raise, and maybe we realized it towards, again when it was totally running out, right? So those were really tough times. Those were challenges, and we had to shrink the team. We had to really, pull up our sleeves, work much harder. Yeah, and then we started getting customers. We raised money, and once we raised money, then we realized that hey, we have to go to market. We just can't sit in the garage all day. The key learnings that dig a well when you're not thirsty. So make sure that you're flush for funds, so that you have at least a 1 year runway, so that you don't do anything rash or don't make a wrong call when it comes to taking money. So yes, so that was one of the challenges. Then of course, um, there was a challenge like I told you for data. So we used to brainstorm a lot, and we came to the fact that we could let people ask questions, and we could give answers, and that could give you Q&A pairs. And then again, some answers that were not going through, we figured now there are hundreds and thousands of questions that the system, because it was quite at an early stage, was not able to answer. So then um, uh, we launched a peer, like an expert panel, where people could register and become an expert on our platform. And we had people from all over the world, including Spain, that would come in there and answer questions, and they would be given karma points. So there were, at every stage, there were questions that the business would ask of us, and we would find the answers to that in very unlikely places. So I think so that's a second learning, that that if you really pull up your if you really pull up your sleeves and you really want to solve a problem, I think as humans we have a very good mind, and and we can solve it if we look in different places. If we don't think just the way everyone else is thinking for it, you can get answers there as well. What's worked for us so far is our passion, our dedication, our service. Finally, above all, it is the product, right? We've yet to identify the marketing story, because from a marketing point of view, the fact that you're horizontal is actually a big challenge, right? Because practically, and like I said earlier, the whole world is, as far as I'm concerned, I think every enterprise in the world should have an AI coworker, and that market is open, and it's going to be, huge in the next 2 years. But how do you get the right person to get up and sign up on the check, right? So that is still out there, that question. So I think we still have to answer for that, or who's going to sign the faster checks, or which departments are having the biggest pain, is still open, and the pain and the budget to start implementing this. But I think those are still challenges that we need to address. I think the product is what sells itself most of the time, and the passion of and the team's passion when they're presenting it.